Unions and wage bargaining. A nurses union is negotiating a new contract with a hospital chain. The nurses are demanding a significant wage increase while the hospital argues to stay with that. Explain the role of unions in wage negotiation and how they influence bargaining power. Okay, excuse me. So these trade unions are the representative of the workers. Okay, yes. They are the ones who are going to negotiate for the workers so that their working conditions are good and their salary or their pay is good. Okay. It is very hard for one nurse in this question's case to bargain for themselves. Okay. But a union has got more bargaining power because they've got the masses there. All right. And they've got the mandate to do these things. Okay. So the union, that's why it comes in. Where workers cannot be heard, the union comes in to speak as the voice of these workers. Okay. We've seen a lot of these unions in South Africa where these unions are pushing for the the firing of illegal immigrants and they want now South African workers to be replaced. Okay. And probably they also want these South African workers to have good working conditions. Okay, so unions, that's their things to put pressure on the employers, so that the workers are taken care of. Okay, so here the official answer. A trade union represents workers during wage negotiations with an employer. In this case, the nurses union speaks for all nurses when discussing salaries and working conditions within the hospital. So that's the main point of discussion. Working conditions and salaries. Okay, there can be other things that are important, but these two are very important. So the union affects wage determination through collective bargaining. Okay, so what is collective bargaining? This means the union and the hospital meet and negotiate the wage that the nurses will receive. The union may demand higher salaries, allowances, better working hours, and improved conditions of the service. Okay. Yes. So here, means the union and the company are going to be having these meetings where they are going to be debating. Okay, why these people should have higher salaries, better allowances, better conditions, and also working hours. Okay. Yes. The union increases the bargaining power of nurses because the nurses negotiate as one group. Okay, so the thing about it is this: you're negotiating as a group, and the employer knows this that if they don't meet your demands as a group, this is where you hear strikes now. People are striking. Okay, because if one worker strikes, that's of no significance. But if a group of workers strike, then it demands a lot of attention. Okay, so workers strike. Workers can strike because there's a group there. Their demands are not met, they can strike. That's where their bargaining power comes in. They're doing this as a group, and they know if they put their tools down, the hospital is going to be in trouble because patients are going to come in, but if nurses are not there in the offices and everything, what will happen now? There will be chaos at the hospital. Okay. Yes. So this is where their bargaining power is coming in. They are doing this as a group and they know they're a very essential part of the organization. In this case, the nurses are a very essential part of the hospital. So, as a group, if they decide their demands are not met, the hospital is in big trouble. So that's why the hospital usually will have to listen to the trade unions. Okay. Yes. The union may use negotiation, mediation, petitions, or lawful strike action to support its demands. Okay. The possibility of a strike can pressure the hospital to offer a better wage. Okay. So these strikes, these are the ones that can really put the hospital to a stand still. Okay. But it doesn't mean that they can force the hospital, because the hospital can also come back and say, okay, these are the expenses we incur. So the wage that you're demanding, maybe it will be too much. So maybe they might say, okay, just drop it a bit so that at least you can be within budget. Okay. So, however, the final wage will depend on the hospital's budget, the number of nurses in the union, labor laws, and the availability of other qualified nurses. Okay. So if there are other nurses elsewhere, the hospital can say, okay, you can strike, we'll get other nurses. Okay. If the union is comprising of all the nurses, then they know a strike is going to put the hospital at a standstill. Okay. Yes. Any questions? Okay. Analyze potential trade offs between higher wages for nurses and the cost of healthcare for patients. So, the higher the wages these nurses demand, it means money for other operational expenses, especially the cost of the healthcare for patients, in terms of the beds, the medicines that are available, the services that are offered. You find that money that could have been used to for that is going to go to pay the nurses the higher wages. So you find the nurses can get higher wages, but you find now at the hospital services are below standard. The hospital has got damaged beds, wheelchairs are not, there are few wheelchairs. Or if there are wheelchairs, those wheelchairs are damaged. Okay. It's having problems with the generator in case of load shedding and whatever. Okay. Yes. So the money that is being channeled to pay the nurses the higher wage is going to affect other areas where the money could have been used for to allow the hospital to offer better services for the patients. Okay. So what will usually happen is this. The hospital, since it sees that and says, okay, since we're paying our nurses higher wages and we still need money to offer good services and healthcare for our patients, so it means the hospital will now also become expensive. Okay, they will now increase costs also. Okay, because we know these private hospitals, they are, how can I say, especially private hospitals, they're expected to be of a certain standard. So if they're paying nurses higher wages, and they know that their services also have to be on par, it means hospital costs will increase now. Things, because you hear consultation fee from 150, it's now 500. Okay. Yes. So higher wages will increase the income of nurses. This can improve their standard of living, motivation, and job satisfaction. Okay, better pay can also reduce the number of nurses who resign. The hospital may find it easier to keep experienced nurses and attract new qualified nurses. This can improve the quality of patient care. Okay. However, okay, the hospital must find extra money to pay the higher wages. This increases the hospital's total operating costs now. Okay. If the hospital does not receive more funding, it may increase consultation fees, as we've seen, treatment charges, or insurance costs. Patients may therefore pay more for the health care. Okay, as I said earlier on in my example, you find consultation from 150 kwacha to 500 kwacha. Okay, yes. The hospital may also reduce the number of workers, delay buying equipment, or reduce some services in order to pay higher salaries. So, as I said earlier on, some services are going to be affected because these nurses or doctors are getting higher pays. So, some services may even be reduced. Okay, yes. This can increase the workload of the remaining nurses and may reduce the quality of care. Because since their salaries have increased, so some nurses might be laid off also. So it means fewer nurses remain. Now, with fewer nurses, it means the workload becomes big. So you find each nurse has to attend to three people who are just coming into the hospital. Okay, because you find maybe at the reception there used to be five people to attend to many queries, but now at the reception there's only one person. So you can imagine now the workload that would be on that person there. Okay. And the quality of service is going to be affected. Yes. Any questions, colleagues? All right. That does with question number